And then the curtain fell. Women soon found the fashions of 1914 unsuited to their wartime labors. Skirts became wider and shorter, and a certain military air could be discerned in the fashions as the war years passed. The war ended, and women too had their victory march. But it was a costly victory. There had been a terrible slaughter of Britain's young men. This, together with the emancipation of her women, which culminated in their winning the right to vote, sowed the seed of the fantastic fashions of the 20s. 2 million surplus women, went the comic song. And as if to remedy their plight, fashion decreed a sexless, bosomless, hipless, thighless creature. Then began a race between the hemline and the waist as to which would reach the knee first. The hemline won, but only just. Now a crazy prosperity led to senseless abandon, and the clothes were made to match. The silhouette of the 20s was straight and slim, and as narrow as possible on the hips. Legs became important, and rayon stockings came in to show them off. The broad waist became a cult. 29 or 30 inches was quite normal. Once again, it was the corset that imposed the line. The style of the day was reflected in the bathing costumes, which at last became more suited to their purpose. A beltless sheath dress, shaped like a tube, was extremely smart. Patterns were bold and large, and the whole effect was two-dimensional. With such simple styles, ready-to-wear clothes that were fashionable became easier for every woman to buy. But for the really smart woman, it was still an expensive model made to order. The 20s crashed to an end. New terrors arose in the world, and as we moved into the most frightening decade in history, the fashions reflected a new sense of femininity. Was it merely a triumph of the dressmakers, or a feminine decision to help their menfolk to face this new menacing world? Who can tell? But the hemline fell to the ankle and the waist returned to normal. To look as slim as a maypole entailed underclothes reduced to nothing, just a caress. It was no longer smart to be slick and sexy, but to be feminine in a new, calm way, treating the body as though it were a piece of sculpture. Despite the change in line, the continuing trend towards ready-made fashions went on. For sport, women at last wore garments that were sensible. Detachable skirts for skating. Beach clothes which were easily discarded. And swimsuits entirely suited to swimming, if you felt inclined. Came 1939, another fateful year. Were women really about to return to wasp waists? Was tight lacing actually here? the bombers drowned the answer. With Britain threatened from the skies as well as on the oceans, utility clothes were introduced by government decree. Cheap but well made, simple and practical, styled by eminent designers. Their mass production laid the foundation for a revolution in the making of clothes in the post-war years.
For women, a famous victory. Out of the gloom came the new look. Then the shadows lifted and controls were cast aside. And as one new line followed another, the British fashion industry revolutionized itself. It isn't just that its fabrics and its workmanship are good, its price is down to earth. British women take all that for granted. But in the last few years, we have become the most fashion-conscious women in the world. Whatever the latest style, we want it quickly. And the British fashion industry sees we get it. Now, with ever-growing efficiency, exports are soaring. British clothes are on the move. All over the world, whatever their age, their income, or their way of life, women look to London for ready-to-wear fashions at prices they can afford.